And welcome back to another devotion. I am Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Thursday, January 16th of 2025. We are in the book of Acts, and just Tuesday we got into chapter 6. Today we're going to finish chapter 6. It's just a short little chapter, just 2 installments for us on this one. Today we're talking about the arrest of Stephen, and that would be chapter 6 of Acts, verses 8 to 15. We're not going to get into his speech to the council. He'll be before the council, and we'll have his accusations made towards him by at the council. But we'll talk about him responding to the council and his martyrdom later. Let's jump into chapter 6, verses 8 to 15. Easy for me to say, right? All right. And Stephen, full of grace and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. Then some of those who belonged to the synagogue of the Freedmen, as it was called, and of the Syrians and the Alexandrians, and those from Cili and Asia, arose and disputed with Stephen. But they could not withstand the wisdom and the spirit with which he spoke. Then they secretly instigated men who said, "We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and God." And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and they came upon him and seized him and brought him before the council, and set up false witnesses who said, "This man never ceases to speak words against this holy place and the law. We have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place and will change the customs which Moses delivered to us." And gazing at him, all who sat in the council saw that his face was like the face of an angel. Okay, very angelic this Stephen is. It's interesting. He was selected to wait tables, but yet he is doing much more than that. He's doing signs and wonders. Great wonders and signs among the people. He's doing some interesting things. He's not, for lack of fulfilling his walk with God. He has been called to great things. So he is doing much more than just serving folks. And that's, again, we talked a little bit about some of those things Tuesday, but we're not necessarily limited just because we've been picked to wait tables and we start in a lower position doesn't mean we don't evolve. We don't move up to something else. Not one is more important than the other. Shouldn't say that way perhaps, but we can grow in our service to the Lord. Let's put it that way. That sounds better, doesn't it? I like that better. We can grow in our service to the Lord, and hopefully we do. Hopefully we do continue to do that. All of us are going to have a point where we get to the point where we're not bodily, physically able to do some of the things we were doing, but that's another story. But we want to continue to grow as long as we can and to do more and more for the Lord. That's what Stephen's doing. And Stephen does it all. He gives it all. Any rate, we talked about these different sects in Judaism on Tuesday. Mentioned that Christianity, at this point, it's not Christianity as we know it. It's a sect of Judaism. Now, this Freedmen, this appears to be the synagogue of the Freedmen. This must be a sect or something along those lines, or at least a part of a sect. Perhaps they're a group of Pharisees. But at any rate, they have some different backgrounds. They seem to be maybe more, not necessarily Hellenistic. The Alexandrians are probably Hellenistic Jews, but they seem to have a bone to pick with Stephen. And that goes to show that not everybody of one group moved into the other group. Just because there's Hellenist Jews in the Christian movement, there's Hellenist Jews that are staying in the basic Jewish movement, and of the different sects within it. There were about 36 different sects of Judaism at the time of Jesus, and this still would hold true here. Again, this is very shortly after the crucifixion, the resurrection, and all of that, the ascension. So this shows us that this is talking about another group there. But they've kind of got it in and out for this new movement. And we see those kinds of things even within Christianity today. The Catholics and the Baptists, there are different arguments between those groups. And I've known Catholics that believed that unless you were Catholic, you were going to hell. And I've known Baptists that believed unless you were Baptist, you were going to hell. And if you were Catholic, you sure were going to hell in a handbasket. So sadly, we still have those kinds of attitudes. And we do, very much so. Perhaps not as much as we did at one time, but certainly it still exists. At any rate, But he rebukes all of their arguments. They get frustrated with that. They don't like it when you best that. Nobody likes it when you best them, especially the worst part of an argument, as the old saying goes, is that moment when you realize you're wrong. And it takes a big man or a big woman to go, I guess I'm wrong. I've been in that position a few times in my life. It's not a fun feeling. Most folks, I should say, many folks, if not most, they're going to generate a great deal of animosity and angst against you. And that seems to be what's happening here. He's bested them in their arguments. They don't like to lose. Their pride, their ego goes before, when ego walks in the door, God walks out. My mentor, Bob Moby, always said, and those are sage words. Bob's a wise man. Their egos, and I know about egos, ego will get you in trouble, always. They want to get back at this Stephen. In fact, they want to get back at him so much that they're going to do something that could end up putting him into a capital charge, and does. That's petty, beyond petty. That's malicious. So this is a very malicious group, and sometimes we run into malicious people in church. Hopefully not such that they're going to get us to be arrested and thrown in jail, or even killed, or capital punishment. But you do run into people that do have malicious behaviors. I've seen churches where there's somebody in the church got their dander up, and they've done their absolute best to drive the pastor out of the church. The malicious movement to ruin a pastor's career. And that can happen between members in the church too. This church has had a history of at times of driving off pastors. Not a good thing, folks. Not a good thing. We really need to search our hearts, because a lot of those are just ego. A lot of times that's just ego. Maybe the pastor's ego rubbing up against somebody else's ego. And I try to be cognizant of that, because I've confessed I struggle with ego, or have in the past. My wife would say I still do. And I'm recording this on our anniversary, so don't ask her. But at any rate, it's oftentimes ego. That's when you get into trouble. Wars have been fought over egos. But that's another story. We'll deviate away from that one. But the irony is that some of the things they're saying about him are crazy. Some of this you might be able to pin on Paul, but Paul's not around yet. He's going to show up here shortly, but he's certainly not on the Christian movement yet. He's certainly not in that sect yet. He's a full-blooded, wholehearted Pharisee. None of these charges, they really don't apply yet. Again, you could argue some of them. They're misinterpreting his words, and it would seem that they're maybe doing it willfully, misinterpreting words. And that's another thing we run into. You will say something, and people will twist it because they have a vendetta against you, and that's what's going on here. They are instigating men, and they are setting up false witnesses. Let's look out for that. And let's look out for that not only in things that come up against us, but in our own heart. All right? So, with that, I'm going to let you go here with Stephen looking like an angel. We'll pick up with Stephen looking like an angel next Tuesday. Have a blessed day. Be a blessing to someone today. If you enjoy these devotions, if you learn a little bit of something, that's great. If you do enjoy them, like and subscribe. We'd like to have you back. All right? God bless you. God loves you. Take care.